Involved in painkillers at 15 and slowly moved into heroin by the time I was 20. I was smoking heroin off of tinfoil, and the combination of the drug and the foil burning caused toxic lesions in the back of my head and affected all my motor functions. And I couldn't walk or stand, I had no balance, and then my vocal cords got paralyzed, and it was just all bad news. But yeah, it all started with me just losing my balance one day. I stood up off my couch and I fell back into my couch, and I was confused, and then I went in the shower and fell in the shower, and as days went by it got worse and worse, and then finally my mom picked me up and took me down for an MRI to see what was going on. And the doctors, after looking at my MRI brain scan things, thought I had a small stroke, and they put me in a helicopter and sent me out to Buffalo because there's nothing they could do in Jamestown, where I'm from. So I went out to Buffalo, and I still didn't, the doctors and everyone didn't know what was wrong with me yet. They just knew I might have had a small stroke. I didn't know what was wrong with me either. I just knew I couldn't stand up that well. And then they got the urine test sample results back, and they told me, like, do we have to tell your parents for you? And I'm like, I guess. And me being an only child, I had to look my mother in the eye and tell her that her only son was a junkie and had been destroying his life for the past 7 years. My symptoms kept getting worse when I was out in the hospital, and about 2 weeks into everything, my vocal cords became paralyzed too. And then I couldn't talk to anyone, and then slowly my hips started to lock up, and I couldn't sit up in my bed or really move or do much of anything. I was in the hospital for 3 months, my whole summer in a hospital bed. It was the worst thing in the world. And I started praying one day, because the way I've always looked at religion, like, it wasn't a thing for me. Like, I wasn't completely committed to it. I decided I got nothing else to lose, so I might as well start praying. And the thing I had is really rare. It's called leukoencephalopathy, which is long and ridiculous. But there's only been 500 reported cases of it in the entire world, and only 2% of those people have lived. Because of the swelling in my brain, the doctors said I have less than a 25% chance to survive. They straight up told my mom, they're like, we don't know if he's going to be alive tomorrow, so don't be surprised. It's they said a lot nicer, but that's essentially what they said. So I was in the hospital for 3 months, all summer long, and I started praying towards the end, because just everything else in my life started falling apart, and I didn't know what to do. And I got out of the hospital. I was still in a wheelchair, had to spend my birthday in a wheelchair, not being able to talk to anyone because my voice is still a little messed up. And I got invited to like a church-sponsored NA type program. And I went to it, and then I got invited to another one by another person. I started going to these meetings, and then I slowly started to get better. I was in a wheelchair, then I moved into a walker, then a cane, and the way I've always thought about religion and everything is, because I'm a realist when it comes to religion, and I always thought, in an endless universe, how can you make sure you're praying to the right God? And then I started to get better, because I was discovering faith and everything. And then that kind of shot my whole endless universe idea down, because obviously I was praying to the right person if I started to get better. And then I ended up just accepting that, you know what, okay, I'm going to take this faith thing as far as it can go. And I surrendered to God, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, I lost the cane and I was able to walk again, which is insane by anyone's thinking, because they told me if I was lucky, I'd be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, or I'd be in a walker the rest of my life. So I was able to walk again, and I thought this whole faith thing is really working out for me somehow. I still struggle with faith every day, I won't lie to you. I honestly feel like I've been blind for the past 7 years. and I wouldn't have my life any other way. It took a tragedy to open my eyes, but I'm happy and awake. I know seeking help when you're involved in sinful things and drug abuse and everything is the last thing you want to do, but honestly, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And now I try to live my life the cleanest way possible I can, and there isn't any drug or anything that can ever compare to what faith has done for me, and that's all I have to say.